One of my friends recommended taking Hebrew.
Already I'm seeing just my devotional reading changing. Getting to spend some time in the Hebrew language is huge. And not only that, but their language in particular is so intricately connected with the way they thought, and it's a world that's just so unfamiliar to me, who's a 21st century Western American reading scripture. So
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that they're sort of there in English, but they're really hard. Well, you don't know for sure just because they're in English, first of all, if they're there in the Hebrew, without seeing the Hebrew.
one of the first few syntax things we learn is in Hebrew, the words you put first are the ones that you want everyone to focus on. So right away, like, is that a verb? Why is that verb first? Why is that noun first instead? And that instantly keys into some meaning that the English can't really capture as well.
God can apparently even use grammar for His glory, and so Hebrew, I think, really brought that out.
We actually get to see the 20% that never show up in other translations.
And it just makes you think about things a lot more carefully. You know, a lot of times the English translators do a good job of getting it across, but when you're reading in English and you know it's a translation, you don't see the exactness, that's in the Hebrew. So that's definitely what I'm looking for now when I read it in Hebrew.
There's just this whole depth that comes from Hebrew. Two-dimensional is reading it in English for me, and then the third dimension comes from trying to get at the Hebrew. It's kind of ruined reading the Bible in translation now.
Because it's an elective, sometimes that means it's even just a closer class. And then everyone else that's in there is also taking the plunge and being brave. So we're all sort of in it together when we take it.
I don't know. I think when I spend more time in Hebrew, for say, that I spend more time pondering or meditating upon the words too. Like, it makes my understanding upon the verse deeper.
The accomplishment at the end of a year to be able to just read it out loud and to feel what the words are a little more, I mean, is in and of itself kind of a reward. That's pretty cool. That's beyond just like some, tangible ministry benefit.
And of course, if you know how to translate those, and then you can help others around you to understand, to get insights out of your understanding.
It's been very transferable for me, even to junior high Sunday school class, basics, obviously, but, in ways that can benefit them.
I kind of think we're all sort of at the point where if we're choosing to further our education at this level, it's because we want to be set up for lifelong learning. One of the biggest ways of doing that is to take the plunge and be brave and courageous and dive into the original languages.
We hear a lot in churches and in ministry about, little details about here's what's going on behind these words and things like that. And I think as responsible ministers, we need to be able to speak to that a little more firsthand.
For me personally, that's why I chose this, even though it was an elective. And honestly, from the perspective of someone who has never really had an affinity or a quick grasp of foreign languages, I'm definitely glad I took the class.
It really depends on what do you want to get out of the scripture.
I got a lot out of the class. I really encourage it as an elective because I think that it really will set you up for lifelong studying of scripture. And not only that, but the class is fun.
Final words of wisdom? Covered.
Take Hebrew.
Take Hebrew.
That's the final word.
And then I think you should do it.